Okay, and then we're going to start in a minute. Okay, so when I hear it ping, I'll start.
So what's that called?
We've started. Right, okay, this here that we've made is a jig. And a jig allows you to do the same job again and again and get it right. Now, with your longer piece of wood, the one that's 150 long by 100 wide, you're going to drill 4 holes in it, because this is the one that you put your screws through. So what you do is you place that into there, you make sure you're wearing goggles, only one person in the box, you switch on, and if your power doesn't go on straight away, you need to just pull out the stop button at the bottom there, and then you switch on, and you're taking this all the way through. You then lift that up carefully, shake the dust off, and you turn it and you do the same thing again but on that side. Make sure always that your piece of MDF is actually firmly into the corner and pressed against the end of the side. Then you turn it this way and then drill through there. It's worth every now and again just making sure that there's not bits of wood in here, because when you place your piece of MDF down, it'll push the piece of wood into the wrong position. And then finally, just to complete this demonstration, we'll switch off, and that's your finished piece for the first stage. What we're going to do with this second demonstration is you need some holes here that are recessed slightly. So you use a large 8mm drill. You make sure that it's set on the drill setting here, and you make sure you put it on 1. Now normally you wouldn't do that, but because I don't want you to drill too fast and go through this, you put it on 1. You then firmly press down with your hands, place the drill on there, make sure it's vertical, and just drill down in each of the 4 holes. Enough there just for the head of the screw to go into. So when we put the screw through there, the head will sit down. I might just do that a little bit more. Make sure the drill's turning in the right direction. The way you do that is by making sure that this switch here is pressed in, not on this side, because that would be turned the wrong way. So it's when you're holding this in your right hand, you press that right hand switch, and if you do each of those 4 till about that amount, that'll be perfect. Alright, I'm just going to do one more as part of the demonstration. And that completes the second demonstration. That's perhaps a little bit deep. That's it. Okay, next stage in this is that you need to use, it's exactly the same jig as the one that we used for the 4 holes on the first demonstration, but you're going to place your piece that's 100 by 100 into that, and it has to go into the corner. A lot of people were using this and forgetting to push this down to the bottom. You have to put it right down to the bottom. Once you've done that, place that in the vise as far as it will go in. As far as it will go in there. And then you'll notice that here we've got a bit of a ledge, and that ledge allows us to place this carefully onto there, and that holds it in the right place. And you then take your drill. At this time your drill is set on 2 on the top here, making sure this side button's pressed in. Also check that here, this one's been set on the wrong setting, it's got the hammer setting, so we need to make sure that we set on the drill setting there. So place that in, and we're going to drill down. Not the full length of the drill, about 3/4 of the length of the drill, and we'll do that on both of them. And then you've got your holes ready for that, and you do the same on the other side. So I'm going to just use the other side for this one. And that'll allow you to screw that in place. Now you could even just keep that clamped in and place get your screws and screw them into those holes there. All right, but that ends the third demonstration. Okay, so we've left this in position, and in fact I'm going to just demonstrate why we put these recesses in. If I place that there now, and take one of these screws. We know that's in the right position because that's actually the piece that I use to drill it, and that will go in quite nicely. But you'll notice that it stops, and if Angelica just zooms in a bit there, we'll see that it's raised above the surface, and that's going to, when you come to cover it on your jewellery box, the screws would actually show here and here. So I'm going to take that one out again, and then you can see how it looks. If we actually have those countersunk holes, so put that in there. Okay, once you've actually got your sides all screwed together, you'll notice on this one that some of them it's actually nicely recessed, and that's how you really want it. So it's worth, if your drills aren't countersunk and below the surface, it's worth just unscrewing that, drilling a bit deeper, and screwing that in a bit tighter. And you can do them one by one. I wouldn't take them all out. I'd take one out, re-drill it, put the screw back in. That way the box doesn't fall apart. All right, so once you've got to the point where all sides are together, we need a base for this. So we place this onto the hardboard base here. Try and put it as near to the edge as you can, because that way you don't waste material. And then once you've got it lined up, you can draw around the edge of this. And that's now ready to cut. And that's the end of the 4th or 5th video. Okay, this is the fret saw, and you're going to use the fret saw to cut out this base. This switches on just down here, and switches off there with the red button. It looks like a dangerous machine, but actually, if treated with respect, it's totally fine. So there's some key things that you need to remember when you're doing this, and as you watch this demonstration. The important thing is that you keep your fingers away from this, and that this is pressed down. So I'm just going to demonstrate this now, and that you move slowly. If you don't press down firmly either side of the blade, pressing down on this piece of hardboard, it will actually vibrate up and down. So I'll just show you that now. So if I don't hold this properly, it starts to move, and that's the problem. So what you do, hold either side. Go close to the line. If you go slowly, you should be able to get it fairly accurate.
You're going wrong.
Always be aware of your thumb, where your thumb is. And then you can just start to turn, as long as you keep moving the hardwood in that direction.
Go further.
And then that extra part can be sanded off on the sander, and that's the end of the 6th video. Right, the final stage, once you've got this sanded down, and you probably would have done that on the belt sander or the disc sander, is to attach this with these tacks, and they're very small and quite difficult to hold. You place your hardboard onto the base, make sure it's lined up at the edge. You need to actually correctly position where those tacks go. So what you need to do is you need to have marked along this edge about 6 millimeters in, all right? And you can do that either with a marking gauge, or a little trick I once learned is that if you use your finger and a pencil and you place your finger against there and then just see if that's about center of the wood, which it is, you can then hold your finger against the end of the wood, go along there, and you do that on all the edges. And that will give you an accurate marking. See how that lines up there? So if I place that onto the box, you probably need about 6 tacks altogether. And I'm just going to place one, not in the corner, just slightly in from the corner, about 15 millimeters in. And you just hold that tack. You can either use the rounded end or you can use the flat end, and you just start to tap that in. If you don't let go of it. And some of you will probably find this easier than me. I've got quite large hands, so it's going to be a bit fiddly. Start to tap that in. As soon as that's held in place like that, then you can actually just move away from it and gently tap that in. And that's the end of that demonstration. All right, now the final demonstration is one method of how you can cover your box. Now, I've taken this piece of wallpaper, and what you do is, if you were going to try and cover the end of this box here, you place the box onto the wallpaper, you draw around the box like that on all sides, and don't worry if you haven't done a complete rectangle, because what you need to do then is just use your ruler just to tidy that up a bit. What we need to do then is we need to add to this just some simple flaps which will cover and overlap round from one side of the box to the other. So what we'll do is across the corners at 45 degrees, you draw the lines like this. And then if someone could just be grabbing me some scissors from in the cupboard, that'd be great. And then I'm just going to draw a small tab like that on each one. Once that's done, we can cut that out. Now I'm going to do it a little bit rough because I don't want the video to take too long. The nice thing about the wallpaper is it's quite tough, so when you put glue on it, it doesn't go all soggy and it doesn't crease as much as if you use magazines or newspaper, which some of us have been using. You're then going to put a small amount of PVA glue, which Marcus is going to see if he can get from Mr. Broadbent for me, if that's all right, Marcus. And then you would spread PVA glue on here, and you do it to the point that it was just tacky. Now this is Ismail's. I don't suppose, Ismail, you want this on the end of your box, do you? But what we would do, probably the easiest way to do this, is to apply the glue to the top of this, all right? So we'd put a small amount of glue on, and then we just rub that in until it covers the whole surface. But you don't want it so it's really wet and loads of extra glue on. You want it so it's just tacky. And once that's done, you would place this onto the end of there, and you'd rub that down so that was stuck on, and then you place it on its end in that position, and again you put a small amount of glue onto each of those flaps, and then that would fold up like that and stick on there. So you end up with each of these sides folded up and glued to the edge, and that would be the end of that video.